welcome to another episode of Lie, Cheat, and Steal, the podcast about liars, frauds, thieves, and bullshitters. I'm your host, Pat Soroyce. With me, as always, my co-host, Kath Barbadoro.
Hi, Pat. How's it going?
It is going good. I am sitting here at the airport location of the Red Lion Inn in the beautiful city of Portland, Oregon. And it's
just
rainy.
doxing yourself.
What's that?
Just doxing yourself. Just letting the people come find you.
Yeah, by the time this drops, there'll just be a pat-shaped weed cloud by the time this hits the airwaves. So yeah, we're moving.
Well, you're in a real city.
Yeah.
Last time I talked to you, I think you were in like rural Idaho or something.
Yep. That was me. Yeah, we've been all over. We've been in the city of Portland. We were up in Seattle, although we were playing in the surrounding cities. But Seattle's one of those cities that's so damn big. It's just like one big city. And
oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, so we were up there. That was cool. I was there for 3 days, and I had a few days off. And my girlfriend came up to visit me, and we had I got a hotel downtown, and it was really nice, and it was just cool, man.
Aww.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Pat, I know you're a good boyfriend because you didn't make your girlfriend stay in the hotel provided for you by a comedy booker. And that's how I know that you're a supportive, thoughtful partner.
Yeah, shout out to my booker, because they were like, I guess I'll get, if your girl's coming to town, I guess I'll get somewhere nice. And I was like, not that I don't think you know what a nice hotel is, but I don't want to see what you think a nice hotel for me is.
Yeah. Just I'll handle it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Which is what I did. It was cool, man. It was just this really like hip spot downtown, and we got to kick it, and we saw friends that live in Seattle, and we had some podcast listeners show up to the show in Redmond, and that was really cool. Yeah, so they came out, and they told us they both subscribed to the Patreon, even though they're married. They don't have to do that. They could just have the one Patreon.
Aww.
Yeah.
That's again another sign of a healthy relationship. Separate Patreons. Thank you.
Yeah.
By the way, since this is a free one, I just want to say, if you are interested, we do 2 entire extra episodes a week for our Patreon subscribers at patreon.com/lie, cheat, and steal, A&D. Check it out. Okay, continue now that I've finished the plug.
Oh, yeah, no, but it gave me time to drink beer, so we're good. Yeah, I am just, man, because we've been off we haven't had a show since the 25th, and we don't have a show till tomorrow. And I've just been.
So this is being recorded on the 29th for our listeners.
Yeah. This is recorded on the 29th. So I've been off for 4 days, and Sydney left 2 days ago, so I've just been in a hotel in Portland by myself, loaded up on free brewery beer from all these shows we've been doing, and I have been having a real good time. That's like all I can say about it.
Glad to hear it.
It's relaxing. I love this part. I love being on the road. It's like, even if something went wrong in my life, I can't do anything. I literally have nothing to do. It's like, oh, well, it's got to wait till I get back, and then I'll fix it then. So, yeah, man. Yeah. Well, speaking of, let's see. Hold on. Speaking of, now, you know, I'm just going to dive right into this, man.
Let's do it.
We want to do this.
Once I hear the story, maybe I can reverse engineer.
Yeah, we'll see if we can reverse engineer and get to it. I guess I can start another anecdote, but I don't want to take any more of your time. I can tie in with that one. But I've just been just soaking in a lot of content out here on the road. And there was something that happened a while ago that we wanted to get to. The internet seemed really excited about, and then as it is with things, the main character of the day changed. But I wanted to go back in time in the way back machine to the beginning of this month, when there was a little football game with a team by the name of Bishop Sycamore. I don't know if you remember this.
Oh, okay. Yep. We this is perfect because we almost did this on What a Time to Be Alive, but we were like, this is too complicated to explain as quickly as we need to explain it, so we're not.
Yeah. There's a lot of moving parts on this. It has all. I've been obsessing over this case for the last couple days, and I'm excited. Yeah, this is indicative of like 8 problems that America is facing all rolled into one. So there's that.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite type of episode we do. So I'm excited.
Where it's just a smattering. If you went on the buffet line of societal ills, like this is. This would be the plate that you would make, and where the servers would be eyeing you like, hey, come on, that's kind of a little overboard of the plate. And so we're gonna dive right into this. If you guys don't remember this happened back in like early It was early September, late August. There was they were kicking off the high school football season in Ohio, and Ohio is like Texas in terms of high school football. They take it very seriously, and there's a whole network of teams out there that exist more or less as these football programs with a school attached to them to kind of crank players into the major leagues. And so it exposes that, which is like it's like dance moms or like pageant moms, but you can get a concussion. That's kind of what it reminds me of.
Yeah, I grew up. I didn't grow up in a place with a lot of football enthusiasm, but there were schools that basically did this for skiers where I grew up. So I grew up in ski mountains country.
Yeah,
and, there are high schools that just solely exist to make people really good at skiing and like sort of have classes also maybe.
Yeah. So we're gonna learn a lot about this little world of high school football that just exists. That's way more football than it is high school. So let's just dive right in here to the Bishop Sycamore episode, guys. And also, a lot of readers sent this links to us back in the day, so we're catching up finally. So here we go. So the questions that lingered in the air that day in Canton, Ohio, when the Bishop Sycamore High School football team took the field against IMG Academy, weren't the normal questions that one might ask before a football game. Instead of discussing key matchups between players or analyzing the strategies each team needed to employ in order to win, the announcers were instead trying to figure out much more basic information about the team and the school itself. Namely, who were these guys and where did they come from? The stat sheet provided to ESPN before the game was devoid of any information aside from the players' names, and that's it, just the names of the players. The information packet usually contains the number and position of each player, usually has headshots, and they have stats to aid the announcers in showcasing the youthful talent to a televised audience, but not that.
It is like really fucked up when you think about it, that like that you just get a packet of information about like a 15-year-old, and it has a headshot attached to it. Just weird. Weird stuff. Look, if you like it, great, but it's just weird.
There's going to be parts of this story that veer out of the terms of like, there's going to be certain parts of this where you're just like, this is just human trafficking at this point. This is all that we're dealing with here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
I'll know to be ready for that.
Yeah. Roy Johnson is the coach of the Bishop Sycamore team. Now, he had missed several scheduled meetings to discuss this and other issues in the weeks leading up to the game. Now, this stood in stark contrast to their opponents, IMG Academy, an incredibly well-funded high school football program out of Bradenton, Florida. And now, IMG Academy was a powerhouse team for a school that was, again, less of a school, more of a football training camp that could issue diplomas. It's the kind of school that like parents of future NFL hopefuls will relocate their entire family so their kid can attend that university and catch the attention of like a Division I college. And really, that's what this whole industry is. It's all like just predisposed on them making it to college and then making it to the NFL. And I was like thinking that's like such an unsustainable business model. But then I was like, man, the average NFL contract, you know, depending if you train 100 kids and 2 of them get through to have an NFL contract, then that opens up the revenue stream to just keep these things open, you know?
Yeah. Have you ever seen the documentary Hoop Dreams?
No, but I did see that one that was on HBO called I think it was called The Scam.
What was it about? It was about sports?
Yeah, it's about college, about like this kind of like guy who would connect coaches and players got stuck in a sting. Yeah, but like, that's a really good one too. Check it out. But what's Hoop Dreams?
Hoop Dreams it's from like the early 90s. It's about these 2 kids in Chicago, like little kids. Like I think when it starts they're like 10 and they're really good at basketball, and they're from neighborhoods in Chicago where like the only way out is to get really good at basketball. And it's just about how like their families stake so much on them being good at basketball and like how intense that is for them, and then also like what happens when it turns out that you're only like very good at basketball instead of one of the best basketball players around. And how like if you miss that bet by just a little bit, like your life is really hard. It's just a great documentary about this kind of stuff. It is very sad, but
I will say this story, like when I was watching it, like the memes were hot on the Bishop Sycamore story, like on Twitter. Yeah, it was great. It's one of those stories that we do where on the surface there's a lot of fun stuff, and then like the more you dig, the more you're just like, oh, this is insanely depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, this is one of those. So it's funny. It's funny on the surface. Yeah, the football game was really bad. I'll get into that in a second, but I hold up here in the hotel. Yeah, it's in Portland. I ate like 50 milligrams of edibles, smoked a fat ass joint, and watched these high school football teams that were just wildly unmatched take the field against each other. So yeah, because there's one team, IMG. They're like the Icelandic team in the Mighty Ducks. That's what these guys are.
Okay,
They're just
great. Thank you for making a comparison that I, a non-sports follower, understand. Got it. I know exactly what you mean by that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, for sure. They're every opposing team from across the lake in every camp movie. Like that's
yes, perfect.
That's IMG Academy. Like if you're trying to save the rec center and these guys are the competition, the fucking rec center's gone. I'm sorry.
Yep. They're speeding by your summer camp in a motorboat with a megaphone yelling, "You suck" into it.
Yeah. Oh, it is so funny. Like in those things, it's always like the underfunded kids from across. We'll get into it. I'll let the story speak for itself because we love a heartwarming underdog story where the underfunded kids who just got a ton of heart take the field and they play their hearts out and they tie or win or do way better than anyone expected them to. That's not what happens in real life.
Very much not the story we are getting today. Okay, good to know.
No, that's not the story at all, and it's unfortunate because. That's what some people thought the story was going to be, and it's like these kids, like when you have like a full like contact sport like football. I mean, if one team is like traveling the nation and they have to share helmets and they're eating sandwiches for lunch, and the other team is in like air conditioned buses and they're strength training every day and they're eating 3,000 calories and they have protein.
Yeah.
The kids are like, all right, so yeah, basically they're gonna rock the hell out of those kids. That's what happens. Also, IMG is coached by a guy named Pepper Johnson. He's a 3-time Super Bowl champ. He's their coach. So they got talent on this team. Mm-hmm. So now to secure an opponent for the televised game, IMG Academy turned to a New Jersey man named Joe Maimone. He's basically IMG is one of those teams that is like suffering from its own success. It's hard to fill out their schedule to get teams to play because they're so good. And they exist in a league where a televised loss really isn't worth it to a lot of teams. So if you're the top dog of the block, it's hard to find people willing to play you. Mm-hmm. So that's what they came up with on this schedule. They were having a hard time finding teams to fill out the schedule. And we'll get into it later about how game time is so important to these academies because that's literally like that's the product they put out is football. Well, so to secure an opponent for the televised game, I keep saying IMDb, and I'm so sorry, guys. IMG Academy turned to a New Jersey man named Joe Maimone. Joe Maimone? I'm going to say Maimone.
I think it's Maimone. I think with a name like that from New Jersey, you pronounce every letter.
Yeah. Maimone. So Joe Maimone is actually the VP of sales at Billboard, the music ranking service that we all know and love.
Oh, okay. So it makes sense that he's a high school football power broker. Okay.
Yeah. There's just something about the flesh of children that he knows how to make a buck off of them.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Boy, let me tell you, when it comes to marketing and exploiting and monetizing the bodies of people who are not old enough to vote, I know a thing or two. I'll tell you that.
I'm your guy.
Yeah. He runs a company called Prep Gridiron Logistics. It's a supposed nonprofit that sets up matches between top teams looking to play out-of-state games against similarly matched opponents. Now, a televised game against the nation's top team, like I said, it's a tough sell. You get a lot of exposure, but if you lose, you're the loser on a national scale, and that's going to affect people signing up or trying to pay tuition to go to your football academy.
Totally.
So, in fact, the only team, according to Joe, who accepted the challenge was the small Columbus, Ohio-based program Bishop Sycamore. Now, Bishop Sycamore, off the gate, in this world, there's a lot of church-run schools, and if your name is Bishop, and Bishop something, it's usually named after a saint. Name after. Well, there's no Sycamore, so Bishop Sycamore is literally just two words that sounded cool together to these guys.
Are they not even church affiliated?
Not at all, Kath.
Not at all. Okay, so they're not like a lot of growing up. The Catholic school in my town was named Bishop Brady, so it was named after a specific bishop that lived in my town or something. But literally they're just will sound like a real school if it's Bishop something.
Yeah, Bishop Sycamore sounds good to me. Sounds good to you.
Great.
All right, meeting's over. Let's go.
Love it.
So they were the Centurions, they were like, that was their mascot, little Roman soldier guys. What's that?
I like that. I like that
it's
as
pretty
a
cool. The
mascot.
logo is funny. At one point, when they're losing by like fucking 7 touchdowns, the announcers are running out of things to talk about. So they start going. He's like, I gotta say, I like those Bishop Sycamore logos. That's real cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's not an offensive stereotype. People get to like dress up in togas, like that's fun. The mascot probably
these guys
looks cool.
They can't afford a toga, Cav. Let's be honest.
Not even a sheet. Not even.
They do not have toga budgets. So Bishop Sycamore, according to Joe, he flew out to Columbus. He said he saw the team's training facility, and he also saw the certificate of recognition from the Ohio Department of Education. Joe added Bishop Sycamore to his network of schools, and before you know it, the team was taking the field that fateful day in Canton, Ohio, to face the best high school football team in the nation.
You know what this reminds me of? This service that Joe Mamoni is running. It reminds me of those websites where you can book a corporate comedian. Like for your office, where it's like it's like if you're like in a comedy scene, you don't know about these websites. I wish I could remember the name of the big one, but it's like you go on there and you see like the worst open micers from your town advertising that they will do an hour for your like Christmas party for like $600. That's what I'm imagining Bishop Sycamore is on this like football team matchup service.
Yeah. That's exactly it. It's like, hey, I got these guys, Bishop Sycamore out of Ohio. You can pay them half, and,
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. They say they put on a PG show, and they'll give out the awards for best employee or whatever.
They'll do the bullshit where it's like, hey, Frank, he's known for cheating on his wife, so make fun of Frank for cheating on his wife. And you're like,
right. Yep.
Yeah, we had that happen at one show here. Not cheat on their wife, but we were in Pocatello, Idaho, and this couple showed up like 2 hours before the show started, and I'm out there drinking some beer, so I started shooting the shit with them, and then I go inside, and she comes in to buy a beer, and she goes, "Hey, it's my husband's birthday. Can you make fun of him?" Like I had already sat there and hung out with them for like an hour, so they thought, we were cool. So I was like.
You are such a good person that you would go out and hang out with people who would come to a comedy show 2 hours early. I see those people. I am turning heel into the green room as fast as possible because I am not a friendly person, and I admire you.
Thank you. I have just so many social media friends who I don't deserve from being this nice. And when I say I don't deserve it, take that any way you want. These guys, that's what these guys are. These guys are the shitty corporate comedians of Ohio football. So when I say that it was immediately clear that Bishop Sycamore had zero business being on that field, I can't stress how immediate it was. When the football team started, the football team runs out of the locker room. That's a famous thing in college and high school sports. And the football team run out of the locker room. Well, they run out, and Bishop Sycamore, we'll get into it, has although they're not backed by a church, they have a very heavy religious edge to their ideologies. So they're running out, and one kid just decides that he was going to stop and take a knee in prayer. But
I can see where this is going.
Anyone else about this. He just stopped and did it. Yeah, and like 3 or 4 kids like fucking tumbled over him. It's pretty funny.
Yep.
So once they were in position for the first snap, the size disparity between the two teams became frighteningly apparent. Like frighteningly apparent. Like where it's like, oh, those grown men are going to smack these little kids around.
Yeah.
But then what's even funnier is when you dive into it, the kids on Bishop Sycamore were on average 3 to 4 years older than the kids on the other team.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, man. So they were there. Once the ball was snapped, the level of preparedness between the two teams was starkly contrasted. Bishop Sycamore players, as one correspondent put, didn't even look like they were running plays. Like it was just like the ball snapped, and they were all just trying to not get hurt.
They just all cower. They were doing a lot of cowering.
Yeah. They struggled with like very fundamental mechanics and movements and just concepts of the game. Also, and this is where it starts to get scary, their offensive line let clear unblocked hits on the quarterback just about every play. Like, yeah. Like,
they gave up. They were like, I'm not getting hurt for this.
Yeah. No, again, they were actually, I'll give it them, they were trying. They weren't like diving out of the way, but it was nothing they could do. It was just like, it was like somebody just threw a refrigerator at him. Like, what do you, like, you can't really do anything.
Just mows them over. Yep.
Yeah. The fridge is going to fly right fucking through you. And that's, that's
that
what
just reminds me of somebody gave this description of this wrestler. Have you ever seen this guy, Samoa Joe?
The wrestler?
Yeah, he's just like a huge Samoan guy, but he does like these dives out of the ring onto people. And I just have this very vivid memory of someone describing it as like, I like him because when he does that, it just makes me think, it makes me imagine driving behind a truck and them stopping short and a refrigerator flying off the back of the truck at 90 miles an hour. And that's what I'm imagining is this quarterback, is this football team. It's a fridge. It's like a Final Destination traffic accident. Like that's what's happening.
On every down. And he's just like getting fucking just blown away. And his name is Trillian Harris. And he is just a very skinny young man. And he is getting mollywopped. Yeah, so almost immediately. This is where I said, like, so it was funny how much better the other team was than these guys, but it stops being funny pretty quickly because that's when the injuries immediately just start. Yeah. And it's because like these kids are like, this guy number 54 was left writhing on the field in pain after a tackle, and the announcers scrambled to find his name on the shitty roster they were giving him to accurately report his injury. So there's just like this kid with like a potentially life-changing injury on the field rolling around. And they're just like, number 54, I don't even know who this is. We don't have a number 54 on the roster. So,
oh my God, this poor kid.
Yeah, man. So, in talks before the game, Bishop Sycamore had boasted a roster full of high school athletes with offers from and verbal commitments to Division I schools. That seems to be like the social currency that powers this level of the industry.
Yeah, so they just assume that they're going to be good because it's like, oh, well, this guy's going to, A&M or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which usually is a clear indication of some sign or talent. Like for example, their QB Trillian Harris, old crash test dummy over there. He was all set to attend the University of Texas El Paso the following year. But none of these claims were vibing with like the one-sided massacre that was taking place on the field. Right. And the announcers soon begin, like in the game, the announcers start like distancing themselves from this whole thing.
Well, yeah, because like they're just watching children getting like murdered, and they're like, maybe we should say something like to minimize our culpability here, like in this bloodbath of teenagers.
Yeah, there's just virgin blood all over the field right now.
Yeah.
They basically they start out by trying to like, again, I kind of paint the narrative. They're like, really hats off to these Bishop Sycamore guys for coming out in the field today. They're a young and budding football program. Their aim is to take people from disadvantaged backgrounds and give them an opportunity to, play for Division I schools or to get the life lessons that you learn being part of a team. They start off with that, and then it becomes clear, like it's just like they're like, okay, guys, we're concerned. Like this doesn't look like this isn't safe. Like who are these kids? And then at one point they start saying how like the guys like the announcer is like, yeah, man, they told us. This, that, and the other. They told us that they had Division I prospects, that they had guys who were committed to UTEP. They had all this stuff. They're like, we are quickly realizing that this is probably not fact checked. They say that on the air. And so, yeah, and the guy had missed out on every, like, pre-game meeting. Like, they did all these Zooms. The guy never showed up. The dude, Roy Johnson, the head coach, we'll dive a lot into him here in a sec. But so they start to distance themselves from him. And at one point, it's kind of crazy. Even God himself tries to distance himself from the game because into the first quarter, they're already up 21-0, and there's a 30-minute delay for lightning because it's storming outside.
Yeah, just call it. Call it.
God was like, bro, like just like he was like, this is like, don't worry, I'm gonna send lightning. What's that old thing where like the guy's like in the house that's flooding, and he's on the roof, and like the 3 people show up with a boat to rescue him. He goes, "No, God will save me," and then he dies and goes to heaven. He's like, yeah, that was this. This was God being like, y'all talk about you're a Christian school. I sent lightning to stop
What
this
else do you
game.
want me to do? Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was at 21 Zips, so they approached the coach, Roy Johnson, about instituting a running clock or about forfeiting the game. And he was like, no, I'm not having none of that. Me and my teammates are gonna play. So then they come back and immediately the score goes from 21-0 to 30-0. They score like 9 points right out the gate
instantly. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so they do that, and then they approach them. They go, okay, so now we've hit 30-0. 30-0 means we can institute a running clock to where there's no timeouts. There's no, we just count this clock down and we're done in like 30 minutes. Because football time is like 4 minutes per every fucking minute.
Right. So, and they're just like, enough of this.
Yeah. And courageous Roy Johnson was like, nope, we're not doing that.
Oh my God. This sadist. This child torturer.
Yeah, exactly. So what played out over the next 3 quarters was an absolute slaughter. It was like, I was trying to think of a way to put this. It was like watching the 93-94 Dallas Cowboys play against us. Like me and you. Like that's, I was like, yeah, that pretty much sums it up. After everything was said and done, IMG Academy won 58-0, and the unforgiving world of the internet was introduced to its main character for the next week, Bishop Sycamore. Mm-hmm. Yep. And I remember, like I said, the memes were hot. It was fun. They had like this one. It was like this like T.I. in the club from like 2007 wearing like all NFL themed clothing, and they were just like, "Oh, it's the Bishop Sycamore tight end coach," They were just like all these like fake football characters and shit. It was like, "Oh, it's the Bishop Sycamore," the athletic director and stuff. And those were great.
Yep.
But people started asking the question, like, who are these guys? So, well, it depends on who you ask. If you ask the head coach, Roy Johnson, they're a football program dedicated to taking young men from disadvantaged communities and not only giving them a shot at getting a full ride to college and a potentially life-changing career in the NFL, but also teaching them to be men of Christ, instilled with principles such as hard work, discipline, and imbuing them with the confidence they need to change their lives and their communities. Now, if you ask Joe Maimone of Prep Gridiron Logistics, they're, quote, the only team that was brave enough to answer the call and play the number 1 team in the nation, and they should be lauded. That was what Mr. Jersey said. Now, if you
that's
ask
one
any
way
number
to try to cover your ass, I guess. That's
exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Now, I will say, I just so many of our fucking scams that we do on the show are like somebody claiming to help disadvantaged young people and then just fucking ruining everything. Like, ugh. If you're gonna scam people, at least scam like wealthy people. Don't bring disadvantaged children into it. Like,
man. And it sucks. It's because like I think it's people only scam who they have access to.
Yep. People scam downward, which think bigger. Man, if you're gonna scam upward.
Yeah. I punch up, I scam up, I get down. That's a whole separate issue. I get on up also as well.
I will get on up. I will get on up.
So now, this all starts with the center. The guy at the center of the story is Roy Johnson. Now, Roy Johnson has actually been in the public eye now for about 3.5 years, and it's been bad since Jump Street. You see, Bishop Sycamore is not Roy Johnson's first attempt at establishing a youth football program. Surprise. It's actually not even his first attempt at establishing a youth football league that's gone horribly wrong. Back in 2018, Roy Johnson popped up on the radar of the Ohio high school football press when the team he coached for debuted, seemingly out of nowhere, into the middle of a season schedule with matchups against powerhouse teams from the state and the region. Now, these are schools well known for forging future NFL players, schools that were also plagued by their own success, similarly to IMG Academy, in that it was hard for them to pick out a full season schedule against well-matched rivals that would give them the opportunity to score points and get field time. And it's those schools' commitments to points and game time that keeps them in the scope of Division I schools. That's the whole reason they exist, is to play football. Like obviously to practice and to train, but literally playing is what cashes the checks, because that's what gets schools to come and look at them. That's what gets them. Schools look at how many like stats, like how many points did you score last season team wide, like in every game, and that's like so they can get like big picture of how the program's doing. Division
yeah,
One.
and also like if you're scouting prospective players, like you need to know how they do under the pressure of competition. It's very different.
Exactly, yeah. And so it's these schools like willingness to always like be like, hey, we're always gonna. The bottom line is these kids need to be on the field. It's that level of activity that keeps the interest in Division I schools. That's what keeps parents sending their kids to the school. That's what keeps the tuition checks coming in. That's what keeps the industry alive, is playing football. So, that being said, is like the need for games and opponents makes for a very welcoming atmosphere for new schools. Not a lot of gatekeeping, not a lot of like, hey, what are you doing? This is our community, like there's very much like, oh, hey, we need people. Come on. Like, yeah, what's up? And it's like, there's no incentive to really care about what's going on at that school. It's just as long as they can show up at the fucking field,
Right. It's none of their business. They just need to play football games.
Yeah, we just need to pack our schedule out. That's it, So
right. It's like if you're an accredited school, why would I care? You're gonna
exactly, and that's why we have these systems in place, and so they can just train the kids how to run plays, and they don't got to sit here and worry about what's going on at the other school. That's why the systems exist,
Right.
And so. So Roy Johnson popped up on the scene with a school called Christians of Faith Academy. It was the Christians of Faith. Their mascot was the Iron Men. I'm not sure if it was like...
little redundant. Gotta say, the Centurion, real upgrade from the Iron Men. Iron Men not
great. Yeah. No, they definitely... This is the scam where they learn. This is the scam where they're learning.
This is a rough draft we're clearly seeing here.
So... Christians of Faith Academy. Now, many people were willing to overlook the problems with Christians of Faith Academy, and there are problems which now seem to be a trademark of how Roy Johnson does business, and that is no website, no physical address, sketchy accreditation, a Category 8 distinction with the Ohio Department of Education reserved for schools exempted from curriculum requirements due to, quote, truly held religious convictions.
That is fucking crazy. That it's like, you could just be like, it's against my religion to educate children well. And they're like, fine, that's fine.
Yeah, First just sit there like, okay, you're going to want to make sure they know about the civil rights movement. Oh, we should probably teach them about science and probably want to teach them about, the legislative process. You're like, yeah. Oh, yeah, okay, are you done? Yeah, because I ain't doing none of that shit.
Nope. Actually, it's all Jesus, baby.
Yeah. I would teach my kids that dinosaurs are holograms made by Satan, and that's where this begins and ends. So, so but like the worst part is, it's like, I don't even like respect, but it's like I can almost like get it. It's like, dude, if that's what you really believe, this is what you really believe. Because I know there's a lot of weird ass people out there that believe shit that I don't agree with, but whatever.
Plus,
it's like that,
they're not teaching them anything anyway because it's a football school. So like they're not even really learning.
Yeah. So it's like the only reason they did that is so they wouldn't have to. Because what happened? Here's how these things work, basically. These schools, what they do is they just create a football program, and then they outsource the educational aspect of it. Remember we did that thing about charter schools a few episodes back? Mm-hmm. It's like that. It's like those schools, charter schools, they go, hey, Brain Management Corporation of Inner Columbus, hey, here's... We'll get to that. Basically, they hire these people out who are charter schools, and they attach the charter school to the football program. That's where the kids go to learn, and then they go and they practice like 90 hours a week, how long it is they work.
Once again, like hewing so close to human trafficking that it's like we're going to make these students work in sports, basically entertainment. We're going to train them to be, physical entertainers, to use their bodies to make money. Meanwhile, we have outsource their mental development to a for-profit corporation that is going to treat them like customers. So it's like they are just getting really primed into our system of late capitalism, where it's like you exist primarily as a laborer and then as a consumer. That's it. That's all you're good for. Work and then make us money on the front end and the back end. Thank you. Yeah. So grim.
It's crazy. Like I said, this is just a smattering of every social ill that we face. Because also,
And
I'm
also,
not
like,
saying,
my model, like, what I'm saying is, like, this is all when it goes well and is legal. That's what they're doing. That's not even really what's happening in this specific story.
That's the idealized version of all this. It's like the
Right,
best case scenario.
Ugh, so
and
dark.
what's also crazy is that like so many of these people, I would be willing to bet. Obviously, kids. I've been a kid of the dream before. I know you have those illusions of grandeur, but I bet if you were to talk to a lot of these kids, the reason they want to get into sports is for that full ride scholarship, not that professional career. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's so. It's like it's almost like I'm not saying there wouldn't be kids that were chasing, you know, these football careers and that these places wouldn't exist if it was just way easier to just go to college in this country. But I'm not saying these wouldn't exist, but it wouldn't exist to this level where there's
Absolutely
just
not. You're
large
right.
communities of kids who it's like, oh yeah, we got to make our whole, you know, like our whole family's existence is based around your sports career. It's like Manny Te'o, you know, like Manny Te'o,
Yes.
like that was his entire family's identity was his football career.
Mm-hmm. This is like exactly what Hoop Dreams is about. And it's like the same. It's like NBA is like the pie in the sky, but it's like this is your only way out of here. Into a degree that you can use in other ways is if you're really, really, really good at sports, because otherwise you can't afford it. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. And so like that's the world that like is primed to this this environment. Now, the COF, it charged tuition, but its operating costs were heavily subsidized by the Richard Allen Group, which is the financial arm of the African Methodist Episcopal Church, a nationwide organization with millions of members, just a large conglomeration of black churches in America.
Yeah.
Now, off the bat, the school was accused right off the bat of recruiting. So recruiting is tricky when it comes to college sports. It's actually basically illegal when it comes to high school football. Teachers like obviously there's ways you can do it off the books. You can have like, you know, festivals or seminars where kids show up and they can, like, so the parents can ask questions to the school staff. But any whiff of like you going out and actively pursuing a kid, especially a kid that's already at one of these fucking combine schools, it's gonna make people mad for, I'd say, for good and for bad reasons. It's gonna make them mad because you're like, hey, this is my pound of flesh, get out of here, you know, like. And it's also gonna make them mad because like that's, you know, at the end of the day these are still kids. And I'll share a story. For example, now the Ohio Department of Education was unable to locate and observe a physical campus for the school. They also weren't able to confirm a student body size. So without these things, the school couldn't be called a school since it wasn't. And since it wasn't a school, it couldn't play in the league as a school, meaning that other schools could host them for games, but none of the points are going to count.
Okay.
Yeah, which is which isn't fun. And so they started getting out there and hitting the community kind of around them, and a couple stories popped up just off the bat of like these guys being questionable. And one was they approached this woman and her son in the driveway. So now this is different. Tennyson Varney, he's the head coach at Grove City, and he said he first heard of COF, that's Christians of Faith Academy, earlier this year when players told him someone from the school had taken them on a trip to Easton Town Center and tried to persuade them to leave Grove City. Like, imagine if some strangers just picked your kids up and took them somewhere and tried to get them to change the school they were going to. Like, that's insane.
Extremely creepy.
Yeah. And that was Roy Johnson. Roy Johnson said, he said, yeah, man, we just approached him. He just said, hey, quote, you're a good sized kid. We got a bunch of professional guys working out if you want to get a workout in.
So creepy. Don't say things like that to children.
How do you not know that you're not allowed to say that shit?
You can't say you're a good sized kid to someone. That's not allowed.
Yeah.
Don't invite them to your guys' working out party. Come on.
Yeah. Ooh, hey, man. Ooh, hey. You're a good sized kid, man. Like, that's
not allowed.
Yeah. One of those one ladies, she was walking with her son, and they just same shit. They just walked up to him like, hey, you know, where you play football? He's like, yeah. And they were like, and the lady was just like, I was appalled that these men would approach me and my son in a fucking parking lot. And so like she looked them up. Yeah, so like, let's see, what else did they have here? They had those ones. Now, Bishop Sycamore, COF, also had problems, like I said, trying to prove to the Ohio Department of Education that they were an adequate school. And so when they came to look at the campus and there wasn't a campus and they couldn't verify they actually had any students, and that's a big thing they get hung up on, you know. Yeah.
These
Ooh.
rules
Like,
and regulations. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, right. Oh, your high school can't be a PO box. What is this, Russia? Come on,
I thought this was America.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry. Are the experts scared that my kids are going to start learning out of a PO box and all of a sudden don't need their textbooks? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, man. I teach them to do their own research. How about that?
Yeah. And I promise to you, this is a promise, none of these children are or will ever be vaccinated.
Yeah.
I haven't owned a mask since 2019. You know. So the Ohio Department of Education, they were like, yeah, you guys aren't a school. So they pulled it, they didn't accredit them. And that means that every school that was counting on them for their games to make their bones, they were just like, hey, what the hell, man? Like, we planned our season around you guys and now we can't even play you. And so that it's one of those things where it didn't even mess with things for their kids, which it sucks that these kids are dependent on these horrible men, but it's also like it ruined shit for other kids too. Like,
yeah.
They just they fucked up everybody's season because they couldn't play.
Yeah.
So now at this time, the Richard Allen Group, if you remember, that was the financial arm of the African Methodist Episcopalian Church.
Right.
They were already kind of iffy about because Roy Johnson was the kind of the president of the Richard Allen Group, the director of the Richard Allen Group. And that was, so he was taking the money from the church and funneling it towards Christians of faith. Now, Johnson was also coming under fire for allegations of unpaid loans, writing hot checks, and also a domestic disturbance or domestic violence warrant that was active at the time of the IMG game. So when this dude was
that is bananas. Like, just the fact that, I mean, obviously, like, this person is crooked. I'm not surprised they have all these other things, but it's like, yeah, if you have like pending domestic violence charges, you should not be allowed around children. You should not be allowed to professionally mentor in any way a bunch of high schoolers. Like, that should not be allowed. Like, nobody does any background research. They're just like, we love football so much, it's fine, whatever.
Yeah. So, all this kind of just starts coming out, and nobody's happy about it. So the Richard Allen Group, they actually end up dropping the school. So they drop the school, and since the school that it has no financial funding, it eventually just falls apart. And then, so out of nowhere, out of the ashes of that, rises Bishop Sycamore. So basically, it's still the same three guys. It's these dudes. It's Roy Johnson, and then it's Andre Richardson. And Andre Richardson is actually a former NFL player who is a Columbus, Ohio media personality. And he seems to be maybe the bankroll or the guy that's getting him some of these connections with the athletic facilities. Mm-hmm. But they fall back into the dust, and then they reemerge about a year later as Bishop Sycamore. Mm-hmm. And so when I first started reading about this, I started reading back about it on the story. Obviously, I initially thought this is a money grab on the part of Johnson and Jay Richardson. And essentially it is. But I thought there was more of like a we lie about our credits to get on TV and that drives our enrollment kind of money scheme. But it appears that the real nature of their money grab was somehow even less respectful. In the world of comedy, we know how vicious this endeavor can be. They were banking on a Netflix show.
Okay.
Which is just indicative of the slimiest fucking. Not only are you just like grimy, you're delusional. You know what I'm saying?
That's like, I mean, look, if you're already working these kids to the bone physically, these children, why not go whole hog and also be like, let's put them on a reality show? Sure.
Yeah. Let's just
That's
cash
completely
in on
fine with me. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's cash in on the flesh of these children in a way no one's even fucking imagined before. Like,
right. How many different ways can we leverage these children's bodies? Like how many ways can we sell them?
And
God, that is so dark.
Yeah, it's fucked up. And they started approaching these kids, sniping them. I mean, they're the kind of guys that will walk up to a kid in a fucking parking lot and take him to lunch to tell him about trading high schools. They're crazy.
Right.
They don't know boundaries, and they're weird people. So they start the recruiting drive, and the Complex magazine did an interview, two separate interviews, one with two of these kids, and then one with interview with another kid, but three kids total. And they just kind of talk about what it was like playing with Bishop Sycamore. And this is just a nightmare. There's going to be a Netflix show about this shit soon, and it's not going to be the Netflix show that Roy Johnson was banking for.
I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah. And so they asked this kid, they're talking to this kid, Aaron Johnson, is it? No, Aaron Boyd. They're talking to Aaron Boyd. So he said, basically they're asking him how they found out about him. He said, I was at an Adidas All-American camp and they came and recruited me. He said at first they had like brochures and a plan. They sent me with books and shit. Oh, by the way, read this magazine. There's a lot of language I can't use in it. But this kid fucking rocks. So he's like, man, they sent me with a bunch of books and shit, like on how their school was supposed to look, blueprints and everything. They told us we were going to be on Netflix. They recruited us tell us that we were going to be on a show. They told us that we were going to be the IMG of the Midwest. And IMG was from Florida. I can't not say IMGB, and I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I don't know why you're doing IMDb with it, but I just think of IMG. IMG is a modeling agency, so that's.
Oh yeah, it's because I open IMDb
people.
like once an hour to just see who the person I'm looking at on the screen is, because that's the weird knot I have to tie in my brain or it explodes.
Oh man, speaking of, by the way, I noticed that they just changed the layout of IMDb to make it so that there's a little picture of each credited person next to their credit when you look up a movie or something, and oftentimes it'll be a picture of the person in that movie. And that has changed my life. That has just, that is genius. Like, because that's what I'm doing on there. That's why I'm on IMDb, to look up who's that person in this movie. And then immediately, just, wow. Hats off.
Oh,
to you
that's
guys
because
at
a lot of times
IMDb.
they'll be under like they'll be like unrecognizable, and you're like, who was this in this?
Right. And there'll be a little picture of it, and it's so helpful. Love it.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Yeah, I shout out to IMDb.
Anyway, IMG.
Friend of the show. IMDb.
I actually think they're owned by Amazon, so they're not friend of the show, but
Yeah.
they're doing good work over there. I wish they weren't owned by Jeff Bezos.
Yeah. They're helping my weird ass cinema ADHD that I have in my head. So they're talking to this kid, and they said they were like. So he goes, yeah, they told us that we were going to be the IMG of the Midwest. The kid said they lied to me and my mama, which, yeah, that's fucked up. And he like, was this a relocation for you? He said, yeah, I had to move out of my city. And they were like, so when you got there, what was the building like? He goes, there was no building. He said, all right, listen to this. This is the crazy shit. This is what you want to hear. I first moved out there. We were staying at a hotel in Delaware Delaware, Ohio. We were staying there for like 5 months. And the guy goes, 5 months? He goes, 5 months. We didn't have no housing. All the players came to find out we never paid the hotel. He said the head coach of Bishop Sycamore wasn't the head coach. He's like the athletic director. And they said he was bouncing the checks to the hotel. And they all got evicted. All these kids got evicted.
Children. Oh my God.
Evicted from the hotel. And then they started asking the kid, like, he goes, what did y'all do for education? He goes, we didn't go to school. We never went to school. I can't lie. He said they tried once. They took us to a community library one day. It was already October. The season was about to be over. I was like, at this point, I said, well, shit, I'm not going to school yet now. You know, like, y'all haven't moved through school this whole damn time. And then so they were like, they said that there was kids that were coming in from junior colleges. And he said, look, I don't know about junior college, but I'll tell you this. I was 15 and everybody else was 19 and 20. And he was like, man, we were in there. He said it was crazy. He said people were sleeping on the floor. He said somebody almost got stabbed in there. There was like fights breaking out. He said most of the kids were like 20 years old from like the boroughs of New York. And then he was like 14, 15 from Columbus, Ohio. And he said there was just like kids were clicking up in there. There was like violence.
Yeah, this is human trafficking.
Yeah,
you're absolutely
horrible.
right.
Now, the other dude, this one is crazy to me. So, Roy Johnson one day, they interviewed two other kids, and this is just an insane story. Roy Johnson, so they were practicing in a field outside of the hotel they were staying at. They would go out to this field by there, and they would practice. And at one point, they came outside, and a homeless man was breaking into Roy Johnson's car. And Roy Johnson ordered the team to beat this homeless man.
Jesus. Oh my God. Okay. All right. Football.
Yeah, I know. That's just sick. They said that like that he was in there, and they said, yeah, they ganged up on him. He said, I would have understood if he handled it himself, but the players were beating a homeless man, and he said they ended up canceling training that day because they all got they were all busy beating a homeless guy.
Right.
So, that again is one of these. So that's where they stand right now. So yeah, this is kind of where it's one of the again. This is one of those things that's just still in motion. But I'm going to read the finalization here from a Washington Post article. It said Johnson defended Bishop Sycamore during the interview. He said the school does, in fact, have a physical address where students both work out and attend class. He said that he had around 75 students, most of whom play football. He said Bishop Sycamore is recognized by the Ohio Board of Education. The same documentation he showed Mamoni early this year, and students attend classes in person and online. He said, we just need to work on our website, on our marketing, he said. We're just a school from humble beginnings that's trying to get kids to play college football. But the roster that Bishop Sycamore gave the ESPN production staff included far fewer players than the 75 that Johnson had advertised. And Bishop Sycamore's recognition from the state is for a non-charter, non-tax school reserved for organizations with, again, quote, truly held religious beliefs. When asked about that designation, Johnson said the school was founded by ministers that pray before games and that the school infuses life lessons with biblical themes. He said, when we talk about speaking with one voice, we talk about the Tower of Babel, he said, bafflingly. I don't know why I didn't bring that up. Now, on Monday, the Columbus Dispatch visited the physical address listed by Bishop Sycamore on his documentation and found an indoor sports facility with no classrooms. On Tuesday, Ohio Governor Mike DeWine has called for investigation into Bishop Sycamore as its opponents began pulling out of games. Perennial D.C. area powerhouse DeMatha said in the morning that it would not play its scheduled October game, and Duncanville of Texas and Friday's opponent, Pennsylvania's Johnson Central, also pulled the plug. They just ended with a quote from the coach of the DeMatha football team, Bill McGregor. And he said, man, we just saw everyone else they were playing, and it's not even the realm of possibility. And I'm just over here thinking, are you a real school? And I think that kind of sums it up, is where we lie. Yeah, that's the Bishop Sycamore story. Kids getting abused, dudes with a history of fraud and abuse, starting football programs, presumably to help the community, but more than likely to just line their own pockets. That being said, worth it? I'm going to say no.
It's really funny to me how, thin the line is between what's a real school and what's not a real school.
Yeah.
It's really he's like, oh, well, we have a place where we go to school and we practice. It's it's like a Holiday Inn or something.
Yeah.
But, he couldn't even do that, right? Wow.
Yeah. It's also kind of funny
because to be recognized as a faker in this whole thing that is so scammy is you have to really be doing it wrong. You have to be really bad at it.
Yeah, a team, a world where they're ready to let anyone come to the table just because, hey, we got to fill this schedule out. And then, yeah, it is kind of a little presumptuous, hey, are these guys a real school? Be like, oh, as opposed to, what are y'all? You're just,
right. None of you are real. This is all just to exploit children who are good at sports.
Yeah, you're a charter.
How do any of you pull the dignified sort of air? This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's you guys are a fucking, you're a football academy whose website has a link to a charter school. That's pretty much what the whole industry is. So I'm going to say worth it. No, because
no,
Roy
they
Johnson's,
got humiliated on television. And no,
and so the other thing was that I want to get into this when they did that 30-minute lightning break. Apparently, Roy Johnson tried to fight half the team. So
the children, cool.
The children,
I guess at least they were 20.
Yeah. He's like, I ain't fed y'all. He's like, hey, I haven't fed you guys in a fucking week. I know you can't fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, and apparently that's what the most pathetic part about it is that he really thought that he was sold on his idea that oh no, this is an inspiring story, and if I can lie to get these kids this national exposure, then this is going to look really good. And I'm going to, my team is going to get picked up by Netflix, and we're going to have a show, a story, a documentary about us. He thought that it was going to happen. So to him, it justified every corner he cut, he still owes tons of money to hotel. The hotels they were at for 5 months where they got stiff with the bill, one of the teammates' parents ended up paying it and is still on the hook for it.
Oh my God. Yeah. To him, he didn't have to pay anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're just like, I'm highly skeptical of anyone whose job brings them around children. And I think that's healthy. You should kind of be like, I'm not saying I can't be won over, but I'm already kind of like, so what's the deal? Are you trying to, I feel like if you're starting up like a football program for boys, my opinion is best case scenario, you're trying to steal money. And that's the, that is the
really
absolute best case scenario.
Yes. That's the relief if you're just trying to steal money.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I have friends of mine that coach little league teams. Then again, they have children on those teams, So it's like they have a vested interest. I know there's people out there that just care, but it's stories like this that make you just be like, you know what? I'm just never gonna fucking trust anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Understandable. It is a shame. There are definitely, I don't know, I had very positive relationships with coaches and stuff, but yeah, if you're a parent, I get why you're extremely suspicious of these people, and you probably should be, because some of them are really weird.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, you're not your child's not going to be worse off for having not cultivated a relationship with an adult. You know what I'm saying?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to miss any. They're not going to miss. It's not going to be like, damn, that kid, his upbringing was really lacking because his parents didn't let him hang out with that crazy scientist that lives down the street,
right.
or whatever the case may be. They're not going to lose out on anything. You only stand to lose when letting your kids have a relationship with an adult outside of the family. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think that's sound. I think that's sound logic for sure.
So that being said, guys, just get out ahead of all this. Just don't have kids. That's what I would say.
Yeah, don't have kids. Or if you have kids, just coach them. You be the coach. Volunteer to be the coach.
Yeah. Just be there every second of the day.
Don't be like a stage parent for your kid's talent. I think that's good advice too. Don't hang all of your hopes and identity and
dreams
on a thing your kid seems interested in, because they're gonna change their mind.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We've seen this happen in comedy before. Not that far from home for us. There was that, in the Dallas scene, there was an open micer who wrote 10 minutes of material for his daughter and shit, and she who knows what happened, but it was just don't do that.
Let them be kids.
For sure. If you're
gonna work enough when they're old.
Yeah, if you're gonna force them to do anything, don't force them to do comedy. That's the worst idea.
Definitely don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, guys, that's the story of Bishop Sycamore. We will, if anything happens, any updates, we'll keep you posted. We'll let you know. That being said, we do have a Patreon. We talked about it at the top of the episode, but it's Lie, Cheat, and Steal, or patreon.com/Lie, Cheat, and Steal. And that is, we'll release 2 more episodes a month. Come and find us on there. Aside from that, my name is Pat Soroyce. You can find me on Twitter at PZTX. I'm currently on tour, so I'm not sure when this is going to come out, but I'm going to be in Montana and Minneapolis and Wisconsin and St. Louis. It's going to be fun. So check for my dates on Twitter. Kath, you got anything for us?
Yeah, I have a live show for my other podcast, What a Time to Be Alive, patreon.com/whatatimepod. On October 23rd at 7 p.m., we are doing a live show at Caveat in Manhattan. So definitely check that out. If you're a patron, you get a discount. We're also doing a live stream of that, so you can get tickets and watch it virtually as well. I'm Kath Barbadoro on Twitter, and I think that's all I have to plug. Thank you for listening, everybody.
Yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. Be safe out there. Be smart. Don't try to start a for-profit football school, but above all, don't get caught.
Don't get caught. See you next time.